Let's talk about the winning this defense, which is right now the #1 scoring defense in the country since at least 2000. Northwestern was more known for its offense and a lot of shootouts, obviously. And then this has kind of changed. Was this a conscious decision in recruiting or in building the program, or just kind of just happened naturally with faster, more physical guys on that side of the ball?
Well, we knew, 10 years ago we needed to improve just overall as I kind of stepped into the role. All right, where are we at now? Where do we need to be 3 years from now? And then kind of a 5-year, 10-year plan, hoping that we'd make it through year one on the field, that we needed to improve our size, and most importantly, we needed to improve our speed. And, we set out to do that. And, 5 straight bowl games and quite frankly, without, failings on all of our parts, could potentially 7 straight postseason appearances. I think we've improved our talent. And now that this team is able to focus on what's important, able to stay inward and really prepare, I think we're seeing the fruits of that recruiting labor and great competition on the practice field. So I like our competitive depth, and it's going to be tested as you go through the season. It's difficult. It gets increasingly more difficult each week, and injuries become a bigger and bigger factor. And hopefully we'll be able to sustain those and rely on that depth.
One of the players in this defense that's really stood out this year is Anthony Walker. It's only second season playing, and if folks watched him at Penn State last year, they can kind of see a little bit of those flashes. What stands out to you about him, the way he plays on the field and the way he prepares off the field?
Well, off the field is where he's really stepped up. I mean, he learned from a year ago how hard it is and the grind it is to be a linebacker, especially the middle linebacker, and what we ask our defense to do. And he took it to heart. And, he's doing a better and better job each week being comfortable being the leader. When you make a lot of plays, people are looking at you for leadership. And he's not a guy that says a lot. He's more a guy that is by action. But he's a great teammate. He does a terrific job communicating. And to this point, he's had a solid start to the season.
I know you're going to do whatever it takes to win, whether it's offense or defense. But does that matter to you, that this is a little bit more a defensive team, or is it just kind of something we like to talk about?
Yeah, I think it's something you like to talk about. Yeah, I just want to be +1 on the scoreboard. And in today's day and age, this is almost a little bit of a throwback defense right now. In the era of 500 yards being an off night for some teams, and 50 points being ho-hum, to be able to have the success that we've had at this point is encouraging. Now, we haven't played some of those no-huddle, high-octane teams also, so that would be a different challenge. We've played very, very physical opponents. We've played some teams. We've seen just about every scheme you might see outside of just the lightning-paced offense that is kind of in vogue in college football. So far so good. Good start, but this is kind of the halfway point this week, and I don't think you should judge any team until 4 conference games. You get to game 8, where are you at after game 8? And then, everybody's got to kind of refocus, reevaluate, and reestablish kind of where they need to go, for that November push. So week 2 of October, I like where we're at, but we've got a lot of room for improvement.
I assume some Bears fans who had a struggling year, they look to Northwestern and you're playing good defense and you're running the football a little bit like some of those old Bears teams. And speaking of running the football, I remember, let's go back 6-7 years ago, you had a famous quote. I remember I asked you about Mike Kafka, and that team was a passing offense. And you said, if Mike's got to throw the ball 70 times, we'll do it. And he almost did sometimes.
Yeah, right.
And now you have Justin Jackson. Obviously, it's very different because you're not going to give him the ball 40, 50, 60 times. But do you have somewhat of a mentality with the way that you're running the ball, that if you got to have 50, 60 carries in a game between him and Warren Long and Solomon Vaught, that you'll do it?
Well, if that's what the defense will give us, you've got to win the Big Ten games in the trenches, and you've got to be able to establish what you want to do offensively. And if the defense makes you one-dimensional as we move forward, it's going to be a long day for our offense. So we've got to have balance, but we've got 3 really good running backs, as you've mentioned. Our offensive line is improving. I see a young quarterback growing up right in front of our eyes, and our wide receivers, I thought, had their best blocking game and catching game of the year. So we're getting better on that side of the ball, and if we can just continue to do that, I think we're going to be able to possess the ball. We're going to be able to score touchdowns in the red zone where we really need to improve instead of field goals. And as long as we take care of it and not turn it over, we give our defense, which is one of our strengths right now, obviously, the long field to defend. And, when you're playing as well as we are, that's a great advantage for you.
You mentioned that quarterback, Clayton Thorson. Your first time since your first year coaching that you have a quarterback that's a redshirt freshman, his first full-time as a starter. What's the experience been like for you to work with someone like Clayton Thorson? You're so used to guys who have at least had some experience starting. What's that been like?
Well, I've left him alone quite a bit. It might seem a little counterintuitive, but I've let him and Mick, McCall, our offensive coordinator, really, they're locked in arm in arm, and they spend a lot of time together. My conversations with Clayton are more about how are you doing? You know, how can I help you? Take care of the football, and most importantly, have fun. Just have fun and take what the defense gives you and enjoy it. I mean, there aren't very many redshirt freshman quarterbacks that are starting in the country. I mean, this is a great blessing for him. He's earned it. I mean, he was in a great competition with Matt Alviti and Zach Oliver. Those two young men are still competing their tails off and practicing really well. And I think that's also forcing Clayton to perform during the week. And that's why he's improving.
Yeah, so for as long as I've known you, for as long as you've been a coach here, finish has been such an important motto of this team. And sometimes when the lights have shined bright and the national attention has come, and it has nothing to do with the attention on the outside, one would think, but the games sometimes haven't gone Northwestern's way in the third and the fourth quarter. That hurdle, is it a mental hurdle this program still needs to overcome? And having a defense like you have, does that help when it comes to finishing some of these games?
Yeah, no doubt, having a defense like that. But you know, we've won enough of those. We've won a fair share. We haven't won them all, but they've been against good opponents. You know, and the one thing that stands out to me is in all those games, we're right there. You know, and when you're right there, I can't look at the coaches and say, bad plan, guys. You know, I can't look at the guys and say, you know, we didn't prepare well. You know, you get to the fourth quarter, and if it's a one-score game or two-score game, and you got a solid defense, you got to like your chances that you're going to be there at the end. You know, my focus is right now on this team. You know, what's in the rearview mirror I think is great to talk about, and they're great storylines, but they really have zero net impact, you know, on this team unless our guys, quite frankly, take their focus from here and start going on their phones and reading about this and reading about that, and that's tough. Human nature right now, you know, it's all about me and what are people saying about us, and you've got to kind of shut that out and just have those blinders on and just worry about what's important, and that's preparing and getting ready for a great opponent on the road in a hostile environment. It should be a very focused week from our guys.
I know you like to put the focus on your players, but I'm going to put it on you for a moment here. So your first year at Northwestern was my freshman year at Northwestern, so I've gotten to kind of see this a little bit. I like to think I've changed a little bit in 9 years. I even have a beard now. Right. And you as a coach, I'm curious maybe specifically what you do as a coach, whether it's a recruiter, whether it's being the face of this university, whether it's in-game, that you never would have done 9-10 years ago, something that's so different about you because you've had this experience.
Yeah, well, I'm a lot more patient. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Now, I'm pretty high octane, I'm not going to lie, but you know, 10 years ago, I was a linebacker coach as the head coach, and every step, every fit, every little minute detail, I was so focused on the micro that the macro was just flying by me. And you know, I think at some point, maybe year 5 or 6, I was finally able to kind of step back, understand truly what my role is from the macro perspective, and then I could be better on the micro perspective because I wasn't, you know, in the forest and getting smacked by the trees, if that makes sense. So I think I'm much more patient. I think I'm doing a better job letting our coaches coach, and I'm doing a better job listening. You know, I think those are 3 areas that I really felt like as I've self-assessed that I needed to improve on, and I still think I'm a definite work in progress as far as that goes, and a lot of other areas too, but I'm very blessed to be surrounded by great staff. I get the opportunity to be around the best and brightest young men in college football every day, and I learn a lot from them, challenged by them every day, and just very fortunate to have the role.
All right, Fitz, thanks again for your time,
thanks,
and good luck the rest of the way.
Appreciate it. Go Cats. Thanks.
Remember, you can check out Chicago Football Now every Saturday morning at 10:30 on WCIU, the U, and My Michiana in South Bend, and again at 2:30 on the U, too.